Well, hello and welcome to Beyond the Sermon, a Bethany podcast where we have the privilege of digging deeper into our Sunday messages. I am Tammy DeLau, and today I am joined with Pastor David Baxley and Pastor Steve Musto. And I know, guys, we joke that we don't want to tread on the sermon too much because we don't want to give away, what you're working on.
Yeah.
So we talk about what hits the cutting room floor here. I think this is going to be a podcast where we can tread all over your message because there is no way you're covering it all.
No way.
So
there's so many weird concepts in this one. Just when we think we can't get any weirder than the book of Revelation itself, we have, I read this through the first time and I had 7-8 questions. Like, I don't know what this means. I don't know what this means. Is this or this? This could be this, but it could be this. So here we go.
Okay. So let's jump in and ask all those questions.
Great.
Ready? So before we jump into Thyatira, I just want to say to you, brother, well done.
Oh, thanks.
It was a great
message.
It was
Thank
a
you.
good message.
Thank
Yeah. So the whole riptide thing, that was so good.
Yeah, the way you opened up the message really cool and pulled me in, and then cause I knew where you were going, so
Yeah,
I had this like yeah. Go.
She's the cheering the whole way.
That was really good. And I just have so many questions about you jumping into jellyfish, but I'm not sure we get to talk about that.
I had a few people ask me about that, and I was on a senior trip in high school, and to be clear, it was a lot of really small, inch-sized baby jellyfish. And so what I was told was they were so small they couldn't hurt you yet.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I will still tell you how scared I was.
When you did
I guess I wasn't the first to jump in. I will tell you that right now, but I'll never forget it.
I people tell you that, but you hate being the one who tests the theory.
That's right.
Yes,
That's
right.
exactly right.
I did went and when I was in Belize on a missions trip, I swam with sharks and rays. So they're stingrays and sharks. Now they're nurse sharks. So they're like, they still have teeth and they eat and, fish and the whole thing, but they're very docile and generally can kind of be handled. And the stingrays are not the aggressive stingrays.
Not the Steve Irwin stingrays.
Right. And,
Okay.
but that's what, that's what's in our mind. You're out there and you're like, okay, there is a shark right now.
Yeah, that's
swimming right next to me, and I don't know how I feel about this. There's a stingray approaching me with this barb on its tail.
It's looking at me funny.
I know. I don't know what to feel. So you hate being
Don't
the
make eye
person who
contact.
tests that theory.
Yeah,
but
that's right.
at some point, you put your faith in,
Yeah.
these underpaid guides in this place who you've never met before.
Right.
Like, why would they lie?
I don't know. Well, let's jump in because I feel like so much. I have questions about yours, but I think we might answer them as we jump into your sermon.
Yeah,
So,
there's similar.
they're
lot.
so
A
similar.
lot, yes.
Yeah, so similar. So I'm just going to go ahead and read Revelation 2:18 through 29. Write to the angel of the church of Thyatira. Thus says the Son of God, the ones whose eyes are like fiery flame and whose feet are like fine bronze. I know your works, your love, faithfulness, service, and endurance. I know that your last works are greater than the first, but I have this against you. You tolerate the woman Jezebel, who calls herself a prophetess and teaches and deceives my servants to commit sexual immorality and to eat meat sacrificed to idols. I gave her time to repent, but she does not want to repent of her sexual immorality. Look, I will throw her into a sickbed, and those who commit adultery with her into great affliction. Unless they repent of her works, I will strike her children dead. Then all the churches will know that I am the one who examines minds and hearts, and I will give to each of you according to your works. I say to the rest of you in Thyatira, who do not hold to this teaching, who haven't known the so-called secrets of Satan, as they say, I am not putting any other burden on you. Only hold on to what you have until I come. The one who conquers and who keeps my works to the end, I will give him authority over all nations, and he will rule them with an iron scepter. He will shatter them like pottery. Just as I have received this from my Father, I will also give him the morning star. Let anyone who has ears to hear listen to what the Spirit says to the churches. So I know we always start with the salutation, because in that salutation, we see who Jesus is. We get a picture from going back into chapter 1. We've seen the double-edged sword.
Yep.
We have seen the first and the last, the one who was raised from the dead.
The one who stands among the churches, who has the authority to do this.
Has the stars. So we see, thus says the Son of God. That's the first time we're seeing the Son of God, which is really cool. The one who has eyes that are fiery flame and feet like bronze. So I'm sure you're going to talk about that, but I know what I thought of is I had an aunt who had Alzheimer's, and there was a dullness to her eyes. And so when I think of Jesus being sharp and having fiery eyes, that was encouraging to me, unlike the sword, what was last week. What does the fiery eyes, is there an encouragement in the fiery eyes?
Well, it's judgment, so he can see. So there's nothing that can hide from it.
It's hard like last week. Yeah.
It is hard like last week. Okay.
Yeah, there's nothing that can hide from his sight. So light exposes darkness. Darkness doesn't cover light.
Okay.
And so that's the idea. But the interestingly, the feet of bronze, I think, are more interesting to me because of what Thyatira is. They are known as a metallurgy city. They make a specific kind of metal, a specific kind of brass and copper for the military.
Okay.
And so they're metal workers, and people in that city know about this. So think about it like this: even if you're not in the meat packing trade in the turn of the 20th century, but you live in Chicago, you know something about the meat packing industry because it's the center of the meat packing world. There's an entire part of your city, huge part of the city of Chicago was dedicated to it. And it's still to this day, the meat packing district. And so even though that's not really done there anymore, so everybody around there would have known just something. It's kind of, if you grew up here in the La Crosse area, there are things you know about. You didn't go to UWL. You probably know a little bit about UWL. You didn't farm, but you know a little bit about farming because you just grew up in that. And so he's speaking metallurgy language here. It's like, you want to see the one who really works metal? Here's the one who does this at a different level.
Okay.
And so, we're seeing this cool picture that goes
really
right along with the city.
So then in talking about that, I know you're going to talk a lot about the guilds that are there. There would have been this metalworking guild then. What is a guild? Is it like a union? Like what are these? Okay.
That's a great illustration of it. It's exactly what it is. So if you grew up in a large city or around a large city like New York, Chicago, something like that, my uncle ran a building in the garment district in New York. When you say garment district in New York, everybody knows what you're talking about. It's where all of the fashion folks have their offices,
like
and where
warehouses
they manufacture stuff, all the dresses they manufacture, it comes off, you can walk in, you would walk through his building and there were these huge tables with seamstresses there and they were making things, and just cool to see. Some of them are one-off dresses, some of them are not, but it's the garment district. There's a financial district. There's an arts district in different cities, depending on what you call that. So the guilds were like that in different cities. So all of Rome had this idea, but then cities would be divided into guilds. So you'd have one that dealt with, in the case of Thyatira, that dealt with metal. You had one that might deal with textiles. You might have a different section of the city that dealt with butchery and that kind of thing.
Like perfume or incense.
Yeah, anything like that. And we happen to, if you know the New Testament, you know someone from Thyatira.
We do.
Yeah, she's really fascinating. So that is Lydia. So we meet Lydia, who is from Thyatira. The Apostle Paul introduces us to her.
And her purple garments.
Yeah, she's a dealer in purple cloth. Purple is the rarest color in the New Testament. It's extremely difficult to generate because the way they would dye things, and it's very, very expensive. And so in Thyatira, they had access to what they needed to generate this purple cloth, it would seem. And so she's able to do. So it's sort of like saying, hey, that's a nice watch. Oh, thanks. I got it from Walmart. It's a, a Seiko versus, hey, that's a nice watch. Oh, it's a one-off I got in Switzerland. Mm-hmm. It's $800,000.
Yeah.
Whoa, those are two very different watches. Dealers in purple cloth were at the high end of the clothing world. Okay. And so that's the idea behind Thyatira.
So the church that you were looking at had a bunch of temples to worship different things.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so it was religious. Your city seems more economical. Like, is that fair? Is that...
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody was religious.
Yeah, but I think kind of every city has unique pressure points that push against the church. Not every church was tempted or felt the pressure of culture in the exact same way. Whereas last week with Pergamum, yes, I think the culture of those specific gods and what they represented and the emperor worship, being birthed out of there had a pressure on the church. But I think as we're coming here, we see there's an economic conformity that's tied to religion. So everything's tied to religion. That's the thing about this culture. There is no separation of anything from religion. Everything's tied to it, but it's versus, you might want to say Pergamon had this deep tradition of those gods. And so there's identity around who those specific gods were and what they practiced. Here we have deep roots of the economics of those gods are associated with, but really it's economically driven as a part of the worship of those gods. I mean, that's how I would think I would distinguish that.
Yeah. So it is like going to a union meeting, but at the union meeting, it's not only highly patriotic.
Oh, this is good. Mm-hmm.
Yes. But it's also if you went into that union meeting, it was highly patriotic towards the United States and highly religious towards Christianity. Okay. Like it would be the melding of those two ideas. That would be the closest idea. And for us, and then there would be people who are not followers of Jesus who would go into that union meeting and go, what in the world is this? Why are we bringing Jesus into, I'm an electrician. What does that have to do with anything? But that was just part of their world.
It was normative.
That was totally normal to them. So it was patriotism because Rome is Rome, and it was the gods, and the gods were the ones that it strengthened and empowered Rome.
So to be part of these guilds, I'm comparing it to unions. Were there union dues that had to be paid? Were there things that you had to do to be part of this guild? And if you didn't do it, you weren't protected, or you...
Yes.
Okay.
You couldn't trade. You couldn't, I'm used to this, again, because I grew up in Chicago. We would drive past a construction site, and there'd be a giant inflatable rat in front of the construction site because they were picketing. The union was picketing the fact that they were using non-union workers to build that site. And they would inflate this giant rat on the front lawn, and then they would have union guys there with picket signs saying, don't come in here. You're scabs. You're not part of the union.
Cross the line.
And then you have to cross the line if you're a non-union worker. And so there's a lot of that kind of pressure.
Okay.
But it was way more intense than that. You just couldn't do anything economic unless you were part of a guild.
And the religious association, you didn't just have to walk in and listen to someone talk about the gods. If you weren't doing the ritual worship of those gods to elicit their favor on your guild, on your economics, on what you're doing, if things went bad, the question is, who's not pleasing a god?
Right.
So if Christians come in and they're saying, hey, we'll sell and stuff and all these things, they're like, you're not going to worship the God though? Mm-hmm. Oh, you're going to be the reason we fall. Right. You're going to be the problem. We're not going to let you be a part of this. And so you couldn't just enter in and say, I don't really do the religious thing, but I'm really going to get behind you economically. They're like, you're going to get in the way. You're going to bring a curse. Get out of here.
Yeah. Everything that happened was the gods were behind it.
Yes.
And so it had to be somebody's fault. So go back to the story of Jonah.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Wait a minute.
Yeah. And remember what they did. They cast lots to see who's responsible.
Who made the God mad? Yeah.
And God uses their superstition to have the lot fall to Jonah to provoke a confrontation. And they go, okay, Jonah, you're the one who upset the God. What did you do? And then Jonah comes clean and says, well, I upset Yahweh. And they all freak out like, whoa, wait a second. Nobody messes around with Yahweh. Everybody knows that he's the one not to mess around with. What do you mean you upset him? And that is the idea here. So yeah, if we have a deal together and you know that I don't follow Apollo, that I haven't sacrificed properly to Apollo, and that deal falls apart,
it's your fault.
It is
Steve.
my fault
Okay.
because I have made Apollo mad, and now you're paying for it.
But and not only though was the risk of you couldn't participate in your own economics. We see in Ephesus with Paul when he messes with the guilds that are making the idols, it turns into a violent uproar against Paul and the Christians. Like it turned like the people start saying lies and doing whatever they can because the Christianity, the conversion was hurting so much the guild that the mob mentality rises up and the violence across the streets, across the city because of Christianity, of conversion to Christianity, how that affects the economics of the city. And so it's a theme where we see echoed throughout many of the cities.
Yeah.
Okay, we hear the church that you talked about last week, there was influence from the outside. We talked about Balaam and Balak. We've got influence inside of the church. We're talking about, we're talking about Jezebel. Okay, is Jezebel a real person? Is it just someone who has like the spirit of Jezebel, a selfish woman? Like who is this Jezebel?
There are a few things in this letter that we have to conjecture on. Okay. That we can't say with 100% certainty we know. And that is one of the issues with Revelation in general, but also with the letters, because these are ancient cities and ancient customs.
But we can make educated guesses.
We can make some educated guesses about this and informed guesses. So here's what we believe. Okay. Jezebel is absolutely a real person.
Within their midst.
Within the church. She has some authority within the church. She's been given authority within the church. And she has a group of disciples. She has a group of people, and this is very common in their day. Yes, everybody had disciples. I mean, I talked about the Apostle John had some disciples and installed one of his disciples into, was it Smyrna, I believe, that Polycarp, who then was killed after John was martyred after John had long since died, but. Having disciples is a normal part of being an apostle, a teacher, or whatever it is. So she has disciples. She has gathered people around her, and she is growing in influence. Okay. And she's in the church, and she is doing two things. She's leading people to sexual immorality, and she's leading people to eat meat sacrificed to idols. And those two things seem like very different things, but they're actually part of the same thing. Okay. Because of the way things worked. Going back to the guilds, when you get together for a big feast with your guild or whatever, you would let's raise a glass to Zeus. Let's raise a glass to Apollo. We have sacrificed these animals to Apollo. Now let's come and drink their blood and eat their flesh so that we have the power of Apollo in us to do what we need to do in our... Okay, so this is part of a religious ceremony. And then the wine would flow. And as the wine would flow, there would be sexual immorality. And
their inhibitions were down.
But it's more than that. The gods throughout history, the Greek and Roman gods really enjoy sexual perversion. And so the weirder, stranger, kinkier stuff that goes on, the worst things are sexually, that we even committing acts against each other. That is a good thing to the gods. It kind of revs their engine, turns them on. And then they unleash blessing on the people. That's what people believe. And of course, this is a completely manufactured belief that cuts against Yahweh and against what Jesus taught. And it victimizes, as it always has throughout human history, the ones who are the weakest in our society. who were at the time children and women. And once again, children and women bear the brunt of all of this sexual violence.
And the slaves.
Yeah, of all kinds.
Both, of all
both
ages.
genders.
Yes, genders, yep.
So this is going on, and this becomes part of the worship service. So their worship service was kind of sexual debauchery and this eating meat sacrificed to idols. So if we go back to 1 Corinthians, Paul addresses the whole idea of eating meat sacrificed to idols, and he says, look, don't do that. You can buy meat out of the back of the temple, like the butcher shop, and bring that home and eat that, because idols don't mean anything. We know that they're not really gods, so it's okay to do that. But if you get called to a feast to go and eat somewhere, and they say, hey, this has been sacrificed to the gods, isn't this great? And you're a follower of Jesus, have nothing to do with that feast. Say, no, I can't participate in this. It's a subtle difference, but it's a difference. And so that's what they're being called to do, is abstain from doing that. And Jezebel is saying, this woman is saying, no, it's okay. Probably in the interest of Christianity and spreading the gospel of Christ, it's okay for us to take part in these things, at least most of these things, so that others might be reached for Jesus. Don't you want to reach your neighbor for Jesus, Tammy? Come on. Are you going to just be holier than thou and say, I'm sorry, I can't take part in that? That's the kind of thing that probably Jezebel is doing.
Okay.
This is probably not her real name, Jezebel.
Right.
This is a callback, as much of Revelation is, to
Queen
Israel's
Jezebel.
history.
Yep.
But this is a woman who led people astray and what did Jezebel do in 2 Kings? She led people into the worship of false gods.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what Jezebel is doing here. And it's
Okay.
all under the umbrella, all under the guise, just as Paul's letter to the Corinthians is in 1 Corinthians, of why are you tolerating this? Why are you allowing this to happen? Why are you allowing this in your midst? Don't you see that in your quest to do all this wonderful ministry and be evangelistic and be accepting of all of these folks who are coming in, you have allowed this person to have authority who's leading you to do something that is anti-Christ.
Mm-hmm.
And Jesus says, enough. I'm not going to let you do that.
The beauty of this, and you'll hit this more in your message, but we were talking about this earlier, the contrast between the first letter to Ephesus and now where Ephesus is celebrated for holding on to truth, but they lost what it meant to love.
Right.
To demonstrate God's love. Now we have the reverse. We have, in the name of Christ's love, you are actually allowing sin to not only be justified or defended, but now it's because of that, maybe even practiced and experienced under some guise of, we don't want to shut people out, or we don't want to close the door, and hey, we want them to know Jesus, and so we have a reverse rebuke, and it's showing us the danger of both compromises, whether it's losing love or losing truth. Both have a danger of compromising the gospel itself.
So, we always say that the answer to life is balance. And so you're saying we need to balance love and truth. And how do you do that? That's just really hard, guys.
Yeah. Too much truth and not enough love is abusive. Too much love and not enough truth is the problem that they have here. And we have watched churches, over my lifetime, I've watched churches, entire denominations, go the way of too much love and not enough truth.
Yes.
And at the expense of what God's word says, they've allowed untruth in their camp.
So if it's easy to understand when you say abuse. And so is the converse anarchy, or is there what word would we use to describe too much love and not enough truth? If you were trying to come up with a word? I know it's hard.
Yeah, I think it is a loaded term in our day.
Got a lot of those.
But affirming.
Oh.
Too much affirmation of behavior. And in our day, we say affirming has become tied specifically to the LGBTQ community. and to where a church stands on that. Are you an affirming church? Are you not an affirming church? And I mean affirming, when I say that, certainly it includes that issue, but it includes across the board issues of all kinds of sexual immorality. It also includes anything else that we're doing, like not caring for the poor, like the words that are coming out of our mouth, like the things that we're allowing in our midst. These are all, do we affirm too much or not? And it's, I have gotten this wrong in my life. I think in the beginning part of my ministry, I was Ephesus.
Okay.
Too much truth, not enough love.
Yeah.
I was a Pharisee, or had a Pharisaical heart, and I would say that I hurt people. I left destruction in my wake because it was all about truth.
Your angry prophet stage.
Yeah, my angry young man days.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, and then
I swung. And then I was
Which
like,
we
I
tend to
reacted
do.
against it.
Yeah.
And I swung and became too soft.
Okay.
And like, okay, wait a second. But how do you justify not calling out this thing that's happening? And I had to learn to come to the middle. So again, the only time Christians are in the middle on anything is when we're on our
swinging
way
one way or the other.
between two extremes.
Yeah.
Well, and I think the problem with the word love and truth is the way the word love has been, I think, distorted. Is that love, it seems to be a synonym with acceptance, or love becomes a synonym with like, I'm just not going to do something to not fight you or whatever it might be, versus I wonder if we need words more like we need kindness and compassion when we speak truth. We need gentleness, but strength when we say truth. Like I want to just bringing those ideas into that, because I think we see that with Jesus. Like Jesus spoke a lot of truth, but to those that were sincerely trying to understand, those that were like, I don't get this, or they're wandering. He sees them wandering. He's like, he tells them the truth, but he sees the pain that put them where they're at. He sees why that becomes such a vulnerable thing, and he's willing to walk that with them, not beat them with it. And I think that's for Christians to show love. We show kindness, we show compassion. We recognize it's not going to all get dressed right there in that conversation when someone asks me a question or whatever it might be, and we walk this with people in relationship.
I ministered for a short time in an Ephesus church, a church like Ephesus. And I didn't talk about this in the message because I think some of those folks
They might watch.
still watch, and there's a lower likelihood that they're going to watch or listen to the podcast, but we'll see how my email does.
There you go.
But I ministered once in a church that was more like Ephesus. They really did have the theology down. It was really good. The idea of letting people in that were going to mess it up was scary. And because I was serving there and I loved those people, I had compassion for the fear that they had. But I've also seen and probably been a part of churches that have done what Thyatira is doing, where it's been, hey guys, what are we doing? What do you mean this is going on? Or what do you mean that is going on? What are we doing? How are we allowing this? Is this okay? And what Jezebel seems to be doing, what this woman seems to be doing, is just subtly telling people what they want to hear, pulling them in a direction that they already want to go. Because who doesn't want to go to the party? Who doesn't want to eat the meat that's been, who doesn't want to go to the buffet? Who doesn't want to take part in this stuff? This is what feels good to me. I want to do this. My flesh wants to do this anyway. And I can do that and love Jesus. Man, sign me up. So who doesn't want to? That message is absolutely intoxicating. And I think the way she's manipulating people, that's the secrets of Satan line.
Yeah.
And this is really powerful for a lot of people. There are teachers out there, authors, influencers, people who say, the Lord has told me this in one way or another. I mean, I know your pastor says this, but here's what's really going on. Let me tell you what God has indicated to me.
Let me tell you what the secret thing that I found out
that I found out nobody else knows about. This is gonna
blow your mind.
This is gonna shock you.
Yeah.
When I tell you, your pastor won't tell you this. Nobody will tell you this. That kind of stuff
So good, Steve.
is intoxicating. That's the kind of stuff that pulls you away. And there you go, whoa, there's wisdom in that. I want to listen more to you. That's really interesting. I didn't know that about Jesus. I didn't know that about the Apostle Paul. I didn't know that that's what the Greek word meant. Oh, tell me more about that. And suddenly I become this disciple of this. And then we're friendly. And then I have a hard time holding them to account because I've given them my heart and I love them and I want to see them succeed. And they've done such good things. Don't you know what? They've pulled this person out of their depression, or they helped this person through their divorce, or the person lost a child and they helped them through that. And you see that they've done these things. I'm starting to preach now. And, it just gets so, we get pulled in so quickly. I've gotten pulled in to these charismatic personalities.
But don't, you mentioned a minute ago, don't we also get pulled in? Let's be honest, because that message is more comfortable.
Oh, yes.
It's more freeing. You mean I don't have to look at my brother or my friend, that person I went to high school with, who I love so much? I don't have to look at them and say, Jesus did not create you to live that way?
Yeah.
Oh, you mean I can somehow change that Greek word around and now be let's be honest, it's just as enticing as the behavior as it is to know I can shift my narrative, because it's hard to do that. It's painful.
And I 100% agree, but I think it even goes a step deeper. We all want to know the secret and be the only person who wants to know the secret.
The amount of YouTube shorts or things that show up that say secret, and then whatever
they don't want you to know.
They politically, economically, spiritually though, and we click those.
Everybody listens to the whisper. Everyone wants to, there's something enticing about the secret, the secret things. So
and the thing, we like to think that Jezebel is a woman who, as soon as the door closes, she rubs her hands together. I'm getting him. Yeah, that's not always the case.
That's right.
And this is why they fool people. Yeah. I once in a while, somebody sends me, a clip from some TV preacher saying something wild, bragging about their Ferrari or their private jet or whatever. And here's what I feel in that moment. I'm tremendously sad that the gospel is being manipulated like that. And I know that their judgment is by Christ, but there's also this part of me that goes, well, of course. I like that. I want to drive a Ferrari.
Yeah, that message.
I want to have a private jet. Yeah. I want to have a huge bed. Of course. Yeah. You get pulled into this and you start believing. Of course you convince yourself that this is true. Of course. I wouldn't. Yeah. If I told you had to do all this stuff and have Jesus, yes. Why would I live a sacrificial life? What would be the point of that? Why would I give up my income? Why would I give up my time? Why would I give up? You told me that I could have it all and have Jesus, and actually that's really what's pleasing. And everybody else who's sacrificing things and giving stuff up and living for Jesus and not taking part in it, they don't have it right. Yeah. You have it right. Oh my goodness. Yes. Sign me up.
Yeah. So with that idea of love, because I think just thinking about the message last week and this week, the other idea of love is that we can't perceive a Jesus that loves everyone and is hard, or that disciplines, or that goes after things. And there's a pretty aggressive message in here toward Jezebel and toward her followers that I think culturally, instinctively, we would say is unloving, that we would tend to resist. How could a Jesus that loves, and this language is pretty... verses 22 and 23. Yeah, I'm just going to read these verses because I think that it says, hey, look, I will throw her into a sickbed and those who commit adultery with her into great affliction unless they repent of her works. I will strike her children dead. Then all the churches will know that I'm the one who examines the minds. That's some pretty aggressive language, and we don't often hear that language about Jesus. And if we do, we start to wrestle with the very image of Jesus that we have.
Mm-hmm. And we have to remember that even the sickness itself is grace.
Yes.
He could strike her immediately and she would die. She would drop dead right there. Why put her on a sickbed? What would be the purpose of that?
Well, hopefully she'll repent.
Yeah.
That's right.
And that's our gracious Savior
There you go.
who gives us time after time, chance after chance, who meets us where we are, who wraps his arms around us, says, listen. I know. Listen. Come on.
Yeah.
You know better.
Yeah.
Another chance. I'm giving you another chance. I can give you many more chances. The consequences are going to get more painful.
Slow to anger, abounding in
But
steadfast.
please turn away from this. All of you who are following, and I think that's the children. I don't think it's literal children.
Yes, exactly.
I
Right.
think it's the people who are following.
That's right.
her. Turn away from this.
Yes.
Look at what I'm doing to her.
Mm.
Can you see that this is not something that you should be doing?
This is truth and love.
This is it.
This is truth and love.
Yeah.
Like it feels just like a hammer, but really Jesus is saying, I care. I've given you so many chances. I've got to get your attention. This is going to hurt, it's going to be painful, but I hope that this is temporary so that you come back.
I think the thing, when you read it the first time, if you know any Old Testament history, you think Jezebel, you think bad. Obviously, there was something about this woman that looked like she was following the Lord, that she understood. She was given authority within the church. There's a call to be careful. For all of us, if you're in leadership. So
this is Paul. I love that passage where I think Paul tells Timothy he's handing this person over to Satan so that they may learn not to blaspheme.
Yes, that's good.
And this is where my professor always said, when we got to this passage, you always say, is there room in your theology for Satan as a teacher? I'm handing them over to Satan. I'm kicking them out of the church so that they may learn. Even in blasphemy against God, there's room for us to learn at the hands of a harsh master. But there's room for us to learn. And that Jesus is teaching us, teaching us something. You fell down. I'm going to help you up. You got to walk with me. Come on, buddy. You got to walk with me. All right. We got to stop because I'll just launch right in.
But that's the beauty of these letters though, isn't it, Steve? Like, because they do feel there's some, in very short sections, there's some pretty aggressive things.
Absolutely.
Really aggressive things. But to keep coming back, that's the heart of Jesus. That's why he's saying these things. And that's why we need to hear them too. Because we all have tendencies that direction. It's easy to be deceived. But Jesus is just saying, hey, come on. Let's do this. Let's get back.
Which is so crazy because you can read this in less than 4 minutes, but we have spent over 40 just talking. We've scratched
about a little bit of it.
Yeah, we've scratched the surface.
Well, we'll see how long it is by the time.
That's true.
It gets edited.
That's true.
All of our mistakes are cut out and all that stuff.
There you go. Yeah. Well, thank you. This is fun. I know we didn't touch everything we even talked about.
No, we didn't.
But we need to end, I think, guys. Thank you for joining us. Bye-bye.